Welcome to the Shakaama Live Show with your host, Shakaama. Bill Cosby was not supposed to go to jail. I know that probably sounds strange to a lot of you, and a lot of you all probably are so entrenched in your belief because of the bias towards the first information. So, what does that mean? First of all, let me explain that. It's if you are introduced to something, you will have a bias towards the opinion or the way that it is presented to you at the very beginning. So, a lot of you all, heard about Bill Cosby or heard about the whole allegations about Bill Cosby, and that was the first time you ever really thought about Bill Cosby the person. And that then paints the picture of your entire bias from there on out. So no matter how many videos I say that says, hey, something, this was really bad, you all, with your bias to first impression, will literally not, you have your ears closed. You will not pay attention to it at all. But Bill Cosby was not supposed to go to jail at all. And in fact, there was not supposed to be a retrial. When the mistrial happened, all legal aspects, myself included, I'm a third-year law school student, all said that, well, that's a done deal. But the mainstream media was not done. They needed another OJ. I don't know if you all understand. The country, of course, was torn apart about the whole OJ Simpson trial and then the verdict and the everything, right? The OJ Simpson trial, that whole thing, completely changed TV, which is what, a $1 trillion a year industry. TV was completely transformed by the OJ trial. So, when they wanted to then launch this Me Too thing, they used as a poster child for it Bill Cosby. And they pushed for trial. But none of the women who were trying to promote their books or who were trying to promote their scandal that they were going to try and sell to tabloids ever got traction with any of their accusations. Until a lawyer who wanted to make a name for himself politically ran for district attorney in, where is that? Massachusetts, Maryland, one of those types of states. Pennsylvania, is it Pennsylvania? Sorry, I get all of that stuff because I've lived in like each of those states. I get everything mixed up. So this lawyer ran for district attorney, and he wanted to make a name for himself, and he wanted to, in this environment of women's activism, that he wanted to really be successful in his run for the bid for district attorney. So he came up with a scheme to say he's going to prosecute Bill Cosby. Well, there's a problem. Bill Cosby settled with the last woman out of court at the advice of the former district attorney. Apparently, Bill Cosby had just some inept lawyers on his team who allowed him not to confess, but to give testimony to the fact that he did, in fact, buy stuff in furtherance of hooking up with chicks. Now, a lot of you all are confused about that point. A lot of you all are confused about that point because apparently you all have never been in the hookup scene, the dating scene. Maybe you all are, maybe you're little nerds and stuff like that. Now, I personally have never bought a lady a drink. And those two terms shouldn't actually go together. A lady and buying her a drink. Because an actual lady, I'm very particular about the words that I use. A lady doesn't drink. Oh, really? You call yourself a lady and you drink? Clue phone, you're not a lady. A lady is something very specific, and we use these terms today very, very loosely. You're just a woman. You're not a lady. You all are confused, and you said, oh, he confessed to buying some sort of paraphernalia to hook up with chicks. No, he bought a party. What was it called? A designer party thing to party with chicks. Now, some men use beer. Some women use wine. Some men use shots. Some women use what's today? Whatever, right? So let me tell you how the birds and the bees operate here. Because of this whole societal we can't get the puritanical thing out of our society. There hasn't been a Puritan in mainstream for I don't know how long, but we still have this puritanical view of adult relationships. That the woman is supposed to be a lady, which you're not. You're not ladies. You hook up. That's not something a lady does, okay? And if I ever had a daughter, she would not be doing that. And if I had to put her under lock and key to, hey, hold up, don't ruin your life as these other females have been doing. No, stop. It's called hookup society. So the woman has to make an excuse that, I only hooked up because I was plastered out of my mind. I only hooked up because I was drunk out of my mind. I only did that because otherwise, I'm a lady. Had it not been for the beers, I'm a lady. You're not a lady. So we have this puritanical social norms that are imposed upon ladies. They have to pretend that they're pure and innocent and all that sort of stuff, which a lady actually is. There's no equivocation about it. A lady actually is pure and innocent and all that sort of stuff. And those are the types that you marry, fellas. That's the kind that you marry. The one who doesn't isn't put them on the glass. You don't marry the put them on the glass. You marry the lady. I know you're confused. I know a lot of you all are out there confused, and you've ended up with some horrible experiences. And trust me, I am the most empathic person that you will probably ever meet. I feel for you. You've had some horrible experiences, and you met just some. But Shakaama is here to tell you, as your internet dad, that's not the kind that you marry. Okay, so you all are confused. So if a judge said, "Have you ever bought a beer to hook up with a chick?" and the guy goes, "Well, yeah, I bought a beer to hook up with a chick," and then he goes to the chick and says, "Have you ever demanded a beer in furtherance of hooking up with a dude?" "Well, yeah, that's what you do. It's called a meat market. It's called the local club. It's called the meat locker. This is what it's called a watering hole. This is what you do. You go prepared to be hooked up with, and but you got to get a little bit tipsy to hook up with the guys, and you got to pretend that had it not been for that beer, that one last beer, that you are a vessel virgin, and you're just a pure snow, which is a bunch of garbage, right? A lot of y'all confused because they asked Bill Cosby that. It says, "Did you?" Yes, he said, but she asked me to do that. This is what the media quietly forgets, that part, because that was the very next sentence. And it wasn't about anything that happened in 1980. Wasn't anything about anything that happened in 1990. Nothing that they weren't talking about anything that happened in 2000. They were talking about 1960. Have any of y'all lived in the 1960s? Could you illuminate, hint hint, some of the youngsters of what was the hookup culture in the 1960s? Some of you feminists, could you illuminate to the young ladies how you all had gone from the puritanical society that you were living under, where women weren't supposed to do anything like that, and you're supposed to make sure you always went out with gloves, make sure you always had a hat, make sure you always had your makeup on, and make sure you always wore a dress, to go to the mall. Make sure you always had your handbag with you. And in the 1960s, women's got tired of that, and then they said, we could do what the men do. And then so Bill Cosby comes along, and then they said, hey, oh, you're hanging out with the Rat Pack. Could you hook a sister up? And by sister, I mean Judy, Becky, Broomhilda. We're not talking about an actual sister, if you know what I mean. And so that was the question. Talking about 1960, were you in the hookup community? Now, that former DA was so not nonplussed about anything that was said in any of the testimony that was given to him behind closed doors that he said, there is no case here. The police said, there is no case here. The judge said, there is no case here. You're going to settle out of court? Oh, go ahead, settle out of court. But now we have a new judge who's got a wife who is a female activist. And specifically, she's dealing with this type of stuff. So when they completely had a mistrial the first time around, the judge doubled down. Now get this part. In the first trial, the judge wouldn't allow certain testimony, wouldn't allow certain defense witnesses to come on board, to come onto the stand, to be presented. They literally just said, the prosecution just presented its case, and that was it. The jury said, no, hopelessly deadlocked, sorry, can't do it, no, mistrial. Okay, so round two comes along, and all the experts said, oh, there's not going to be a round two. There's no way there's going to be a round. There was a round two. How? Okay, the prosecution is asking for more women to come up onto the stand and test. There's no way he's going to allow any women to come up on the stand and testify who, A, were not tried, B, never went to a court, C, never had a police report written up on them at all. What's after C? D. D. Wasn't. It would not be prejudicial. He allowed 11 women to come into the. Say what? It's actually judicial precedent that you don't allow that, because it's all it is prejudices the jury towards the defendant. It has no basis in any sort of legal fact. It has no actual sort of logical point other than to prejudice the jury. So now, no evidence was actually presented, and then you have a whole bunch of prejudicial, circumstantial, and no evidence whatsoever. No evidence, nothing. I know a lot of you all are still operating under that initial first impression bias, and you said clearly there was some sort of evidence. What about that testimony that he confessed? No, he did not confess. He was asked a question, and he stupidly answered that honestly. But it went to absolutely nothing about any sort of like culpability, anything like that. And that former DA completely sealed all of those records. Why? Because that was one of the deals that he made with the Cosby team. You tell me truthfully about your past, and I will seal the record, because there's nothing here. There is no evidence to actually try a case. That was the former DA, right? This judge unsealed that record. Why did he bring 11 women into the trial? Why did he unseal the record? They should have asked him to, they should have, before the even trials, they said, no, you are not going to hear this case. You are going to step down. You're not going to hear this case. You are going to step down. He should be disbarred. He should be suffer a criminal trial himself, the judge, and the DA also. Now the mainstream media, behind closed doors maybe, because I don't know if you're going to find this, are saying that there should have been no way for Cosby to actually go to jail. But when you start reading about the procedures, you see that the appeal for Cosby was denied by the judge, same judge, Judge O'Neill. That he denied his appeal and said, no, you go straight to jail. Now, for all of you all who are, you got your picks for it, you got your torches, you're rattling the gates of the mansion. I want you to go take a look at other. We're a society. Other people's cases, and if they're found to be guilty, how they will appeal, and the judge will say, okay, you can, everything in your appeal is correctly filled out. Seems good to me. All right, let's send it up. But in the Cosby case, the judge denied that. Something's going on. There's something more to this than what we really thought. So it has nothing to do with the facts of the case, and it has everything to do with something else that's floating in the air, that is behind closed doors, some sort of deal that the judge and the DA made to make this thing come to fruition that shouldn't have even seen the light of day. Now, I understand a lot of you all completely ignorant of court procedures. Now, I'm not totally, a master of court proceedings, but this judge presented a kangaroo court. And the people who are still operating on the first impression bias are thinking that he did good because it confirms they're biased against Bill Cosby. The problem is they prosecuted a man with no evidence. They tried a man with no evidence. They convicted a man with no evidence, and they sentenced a man with no evidence. I know of 100%, one of the actual women that they brought up on the stand. Upon cross-examination, which I believe they refused to allow in a couple of cases, but upon cross-examination, broke down Perry Mason style and admitted that she made the whole thing up just for her book, because she just wanted, some sort of drama in her book. She has said nothing but fantastic things about Bill Cosby, according to her friends, according to her fellow models, according to her roommates, according to her managers, according to her agent. Oh, she's not the only one. Another one said the same thing. Everybody else said, you're lying. Oh, we don't have to look at the case in particular. You're lying. You just asked me to get a Bill Cosby endorsement for you to get a job. Days before this trial went through. So how on earth all of a sudden if he's a monster and you're crying and oh my God and blah blah blah, oh, she's coming out with a book. And Judge O'Neill is coming out with a book. And the DA is coming out with a book. Now, if you're confused, you're still confused. Publicists and the managers of books, people don't read books anymore. I don't know if you've noticed. We have the internet. People don't really read books anymore. The New York Times bestseller is a very shrinking market, to the point where they say, oh, this book sold the most out of books. People read books? Yeah. They read ebooks, but I don't think they read books. But these publishers will say, hey, what if we did this? So this might be some sort of answer and some sort of indication of why this judge unsealed sealed records, brought on 11 random women who had allegations that were not proven in a court of law, were not even investigated by any sort of police person, any sort of FBI, any sort of CIA, nobody. But he brought them into a court of law and had them and put them on the stand, allowed them to be put on the stand. Oh, and the defense presented their witness. And their witness said, Andrea Constand told me she was going to blackmail Bill Cosby years before she even met Bill Cosby. She wasn't allowed in the first trial at all. But because he allowed 11 other women, he allowed the defense's witness, who completely contradicts everything which means that that woman, Andrea Constant, should be tried for fraud and sent to jail that this is all a case of fraud, but the powers that be were trying to launch their Me Too project. Notice that Harvey Weinstein is not in jail. And in fact, most of the charges, I believe, were dismissed, completely dismissed. And they actually had proof and evidence and confessions and secret stories told to their friends and family and managers and oh, he did this and that. Where in the Cosby case, they don't have that. Nobody said Cosby did this, that, and the other to their friends, managers, agents. Nobody. Cosby's in jail. Weinstein is free, and Scorsese and who else? Who else? What's the Jewish guy who married the woman and they adopted a child and he divorced the woman and got with the child? Woody Allen. There we go. He's not in jail. Then come to find out the actual women in the Me Too people are actually have allegations against. I mean, it's just a mess. Cosby was not supposed to be in jail. How do you like that? And we have some mainstream media people actually saying that. They wanted another OJ trial. They kind of got it. But on the other hand, they also have the President of the United States tweeting out every day. So really, that took precedence over the Cosby thing. So the whole launching of this, let's make a brand new OJ thing, really didn't pan out. And the judge went crazy. And I know the lawyers have to play within the rules, and they've appealed all of his stuff. You know, it's a basic kangaroo court, and all he has really, they have to just present, hey, this is what happened, and I believe on appeal, you know, people with lifetime appointments are going to go, what is this? Who approved this? But I don't think anybody's going to try and prosecute the judge or the DA, because that's just not, you just don't do that. Thank you all for watching. Please support the channel, paypal.me/Shakaama or cashapp.me/$Shakaama. Thank you. I'm on Cash App too. Thank you.